Okay guys, we're back. Video number 2. If you haven't watched the first video, if you don't know how to set up your company, go back and watch that. We've already set up the company. I've taken the liberty to set up a bank account. I will show you how to do that. It's not difficult. Here we can just go to company, chart of accounts. We can do activity. I like to just right click the screen, new account. What type of account is this? Well, it's a bank account. We'll get into income and expense accounts later. Continue. I've got a bank account set up already called Hometown Bank. We will do another bank account called Community Bank, or let's do Other Hometown Bank. No sub-accounts, don't worry about that yet. You can add a description, bank account number, routing number, anything. Tax line mapping, don't worry about that, just leave all of this blank. If you want to enter an opening balance, you can do that. Do it here. It's asking for the last statement balance or your last reconciled balance. Either one. I'll show you how to fix it in the event that it's not accurate. But we'll put $15,000. Statement date, that was as of last month, the end of the month. We click OK. And you can set reminders if you wish to enter checks, order checks, so forth. We want to save and close this. And here we go. Set up online information. If you choose to do that, feel free. Okay. Let's close this. Let's go to our check register. I'm going by order that I think the average person goes by. I think the first thing you do is you set up QuickBooks. The second thing you're going to want to do, since everything revolves around your banking information in your checking account, your credit card payments go through there, your vendor payments go through there, your receipts go through there. All the other functions revolve around that account. So there are many different ways to access the same information. Here we have the check register where we can go in, we can select our bank, and we can manually enter checks. We can manually enter deposits. We can manually enter ACH payments, direct payments from your account. This mirrors or is intended to mirror a check register, the old style check registers that you would make entries into by hand. Let's get out of this. So we can write checks there. We can go here. If you've ordered checks from QuickBooks, which I highly recommend, you would select the bank, ours, Other Hometown Bank. Did you know we can select a default account? Yes, and we'll learn that later. Okay. You can enter the check number. You can enter a payee. I've already entered a payee on one other example. Let's enter utility company. Tab. Tells us utility company is not on the vendor list. So we will, you have the option. You can quick add this vendor and enter other detailed information later, or you can set up this vendor, which we'll do. Set up, it's not a customer, an employee, or other, it's a vendor. Someone supplies us something, electricity, whatever it may be. We can enter opening balances, company names, contacts, phone, all this good stuff. We can enter payment settings, our account numbers, credit limits, terms, tax settings. This is something that is useful when you've made it through the year and you need to issue 1099s to those who require 1099s. This is a utility company. We're purchasing a product or we're purchasing utilities through them. They're a corporation. I'm not going to go into the rules of who gets a 1099 and who doesn't get a 1099. If this were a contract laborer or a service provider, someone providing trucking, freight, hauling, anything service related, we would check this. Vendor is eligible for 1099. This will help us later to determine who we've paid that we need to issue a 1099 to. However, this utility company is not. So, account settings again, you can enter pre-filled accounts. Tell us which expense accounts to pre-fill when you enter bills for this vendor. Well, this is a utility, so let's scroll to utilities. We already have that expense account set up. If you didn't, and we will do an example without an account set up, so I'll show you, but it's easy to set up. Okay, this is good. We've just entered utility company, the bill of utilities. Now it's asking us how much. The date is today. The amount is $88.23. Our memo is December electricity. Okay, we are done. Save and close. You can enter customer job later, billable, yes or no. Memo won't show up again. Memo is in the check, so if you prefer, you write the memo again. Save and close. Okay, if we go to our check register to view that, we have other hometown bank, and okay. Here, we started with 15, we paid $88, 14,000 left. Simple as that. So that explains how you get these checks in the check register. Now, what I didn't show you was, let's edit this check. Back comes the screen. We can print this check. We can select print later. We can select pay online. We can attach the utility bill as a PDF document. It's really nice. If you scan and everything is digital, attach your documents here. Numerous things to do up here and down here, but you know, these menu bars again are duplicates of other places. Here we can save and close. Here we can save. So, you know, we can go directly to a new check. We can save and enter a new check. So we'll save and close. Okay, we've saved that, we've closed that, we're viewing our check register here. Let's go and enter another check. If you're doing this as you go, you won't be utilizing this screen as much. If you are entering your checks and your transactions after the fact, in other words, you handwrite your checks or you use some other software to write your checks, or you enter once a month at the end of the month from a bank statement, you'll probably utilize this screen a lot more because it's friendly. You tab through the screen. You enter another company. I already have Office Depot set up, so we will enter Office Depot. It memorizes. It pops up. Again, $23.59, office supplies, memo, sort of self-explanatory. You can put an invoice there if you have an account with them or what have you. Now you can simply tab through rather than going to the buttons and record. Just simply tab through. Goes to the next line, same date, check number, sequential. You can change this. We deleted a check or voided a check, what have you, we can change it. Now, we again can set up a new vendor, and this vendor may be Joe Freight. This guy hauls for us, for whatever the situation is. Rather than quick add him, let's set him up again, because he is a vendor. And under tax setting, it's really important that we let them know that he is eligible for 1099. And ideally, we have an IRS form W-9 that we've sent to him. He's filled out with his tax reporting information and signed, submitted back to us. So we'll enter his social security number, assuming he's an individual, because we didn't write this check to Joe Freight Hauling Company. We wrote it to Joe Freight, the man with the name Joe and the last name Freight. Simple as that. You have to remember, when assigning tax ID numbers in any software, that an EIN number, someone who submits an EIN number to you and his name is Joe Blow, he has a company that he used to get that EIN number. The IRS will send you letters back about mismatch errors and so forth if you utilize a social security number with a company name like John's Freight Service or Joe's Freight Service, and then there's a social security number. They match those. And when those two don't match, that social security number goes to a person. The IRS looks for a person when it matches. If they don't match, you get error message, you get letters, you get backup withholding notices, you get all sorts of things. So the main thing is that they match. And you know, the converse is true. If it's a company, you need an EIN number. If it's ACE hauling service, you need an EIN number, not someone who owns ACE social security number. So, all right, that's that. And we paid Joe Freight $500 even. Now, we didn't set up the memorize or the account preference for Joe Freight. So we've got to add an account. So what do we call this account? It's an expense account, that's no doubt. And this expense account is freight and trucking, if you'd like. Okay, it's not seeing it. We're adding it right now. Freight and trucking. Tab. We do not see freight and trucking. Let's set it up. What account type? It's an expense account. Account name, freight and trucking. Sub-accounts we're not going to worry about yet. We'll worry about those later. Tax line mapping, descriptions, notes, enter those if you feel they benefit you. This tax line mapping, we'll go ahead and enter this for now. This is simply to tell the software where this freight and trucking goes on the tax return. If you're not familiar with income taxes and reporting, then, you know, don't mess with this. Don't bother. Don't let it worry you. In our company, we are a retail outlet. It's probably not considered a cost of goods sold. It's not a purchase. It's not a direct labor. It's incidental freight that we paid. So we would probably put this in deductions, other deductions, and call it other, and it will put the description, because there was no option for freight and trucking. Save and close. Now we tab through this to record it, and we're done. So we've entered 3 checks there. Now we need to enter deposits. How do we do this? Well, we can leave this screen and directly record deposits. We could record deposits here. We could go to banking and make deposits here. Number of different ways to do it. If you enter deposits directly into your hometown bank check register, you would use the day's date. You would tab over and you would use DEP for deposit. Don't have to put a name. That's the payment column, if you'll notice. This is the deposit column. Let's enter a deposit of $1,000 and tab. Now, this is the account box. This deposit is not an expense. It's not a cost of goods sold. It's not an equity deposit. This is a revenue deposit, income account. And this is merchandise sales. We sold $1,000 worth of merchandise. Tab. You can put a customer name. You don't have to put a customer name. This is money that was, so to speak, over the counter, not from an account receivable we had. We'll go through that later. This is just a deposit into our banking account. We will go through accounts receivable, and so forth in a later video. But we want to record that. And you'll see our balance change accordingly. Okay, so this is the basis for entering your banking information after the fact, not as it's done, but by the bank statement at the end of the month. Some still do that, so this is the way you would do it. Now, if you wanted to record a deposit over the counter from a daily sale using this option, you would select which bank account. We're going to use Other Hometown Bank, which day, the memo, receive from. All we have are vendors set up. You can leave that blank. If there's not one specific customer that maybe has an account with you, you leave this blank. From account. Where did we receive that money? Well, it's not an expense account. It's not an owner contribution or a member contribution in the case of an LLC. This is simply a merchandise sale. And we can enter that here. This may be at the end of the day when you count all of the money in your register or whatever it may be, rather than individual checks. I like to make these deposits, however, match what my bank account will reflect. In other words, if you have 3 sales in a day and you make those on 3 separate deposits for whatever reason, let's just say you have 3 checks you receive in a period of 3 days. If you deposit check 1 on day 1 and check 2 on day 2 and check 3 on day 3, those are 3 separate deposits for whatever amount. But if you come here and add those 3 together and put the amount of the total, then this deposit is what you are going to be looking for when you go to reconcile your bank account. But you won't see one deposit of $1,500. You'll have 3 separate deposits on 3 separate days that add up to $1,500. That makes it much more difficult to do a bank reconciliation when you're forced to search for a combination of items that equals some entry you made. So make your deposits here match your deposits that you actually physically deposit to the bank. So we've selected our account. That's all we have to put. We can utilize memo. We can put check numbers. We can put payment methods, whether they're credit cards, whatever the case may be. But in simplest terms, we don't have to. You can alter your usage based on what your needs are. I have clients that constantly tell me, how do I do this? What do I need? How many expense accounts do I need? Use this software to utilize you. Yes, you want to accommodate your tax professional or whoever else may be looking at this and trying to gain information. But this software and others like it are utilized best when it gives you the precise information you need and not anything more or anything less. There is no sense in doing, or there's no sense in utilizing every single function in here. It's nice if you want to. It's really nice as you become used to it and you understand the software and you get the utilization aspect of it, but it's not essential. Intuit and QuickBooks will prompt you for essential information. So don't worry about that. So now we've covered that. We've entered a deposit from our record deposits area. We've also entered directly from our check into our check register. Let's go to that check register and look at what we did both ways and how they appear. This was our opening balance. We established that as of 12/31 when we set up this account. This is a deposit that we entered through the home screen Make Deposits button. This was the deposit that we entered manually. Do you see how they appear the same? So there are multiple ways to enter deposits, multiple ways to write checks. Here we have a combination of checks that we have entered through the Write Checks button and function, or entered directly here into our check register. So you can do them both ways. Just want you to be aware that it's not two separate locations that this information goes. There are multiple avenues to ultimately arrive at this check register. So I think we'll stop the video here. I try to keep these to about 20 minutes. Give me your comments. Tell me what I left out. I'll be happy to go do a video and amend this one. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. It gives me encouragement, if nothing else, to keep doing these videos and that they're actually benefiting someone. Again, I do these for my clients' benefit as well as anyone who views them. So if you find these useful, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Next time, we'll continue. Thank you.